Hey everyone! Today I am making 4 cards with this adorable new Sizzix Tim Holtz set that I just purchased. It has 11 dies and 1 small embossing folder, and obviously it is all coffee themed, which is lovely to me. I love coffee. So I'm just taking it out of the package here for the first time. Look at that embossing folder. I love it. And then the 11 dies are in this package here, and together they make up all the pieces needed for an adorable cup of coffee with steam and a little heart for the cup. And there's a takeout coffee cup, all the pieces for that, even with the little sleeve, and also a Frappuccino cup that has the straw, has whipped cream, has the little lid. There's a lot of options here. So I'm basically building all the parts for all of the cards, and then I'll assemble them at the end. I do have this stamp set by My Favorite Things that is called Cup of Love, and I'm using some ground espresso Distress Oxide ink and just inking up the front of that embossing folder, running my panel through, and then I cleaned the embossing folder and ran it through plain and added ground espresso ink afterwards and added on the entire panel. And I've already die cut all the little pieces out. And now I'm lining up some leftover cardstock strips there that I can line up my sentiments on and stamp them all at the same time. So you'll see that I line up 4 strips, but I actually only stamp on 3 because the 4th card I'm just going to stamp directly onto the card base itself. And once those sentiments are all stamped, I am going ahead with some clear embossing powder and heat setting all of them. And once those are all heat set, then I go ahead and trim them down to the size that I want. There are so many options with this coffee sentiment set here. And with all these different coffee die cuts in this embossing folder, I'm going to be able to make lots of cards. But for these 4 today, I am going ahead and inking up the edges of those sentiments. And then I also ink up the 1 card panel. And for this card here, I also bring in a stamp set that I got out of a magazine because it has these little circles that kind of reminded me of coffee stains. And then you can see that I die cut some of the coffee mugs out of that blue paper, and I decided to use that scrap there as a matte layer behind the cardstock. So I'm just inking up that white layer and kind of layering the takeout coffee cup and the Frappuccino. And for the last card, I used the Stitched Circles Nesting die set by Prism Studio to cut out a white circle and then a gold glitter circle. And I'm layering up this glittery Frappuccino, and I die cut several of the hearts out. And this is the card that I'm stamping the sentiment directly onto the base, so I'm just going to do that now. And I used my VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink for all of the sentiments. And it's time to glue everything in place. So I've got my art glitter glue. And for the first card, I just glued the panel on, gluing the coffee cup together. I'm gluing on those little steam lines. As I find them here, they're tiny. And then I will glue on the sentiment, and then I have to find the heart that goes on that coffee cup. And that's the first card done. So the second one was super simple. I just glued the card panel on and glued on the sentiment. And then we're on to the third one, just gluing the different layers together. And then once that is glued on, then it's just gluing all of the coffee cup and Frappuccino cup pieces all in place. And the straw there is being glued on. I forgot that I needed the whipped cream to go behind the straw, so I just kind of pulled it out a bit and glued that on. And then the lid of the Frappuccino is cut out of a brown vellum. And onto the last card, gluing the glitter circle on, gluing the white circle on top of that, and then gluing the Frappuccino, all the parts together. The lid of this Frappuccino I did with just a clear vellum. But this set is super simple to use and very versatile, so I'm sure I will use it for years to come. And then I am gluing on, I think, 5 gold glitter hearts. And then this card is also done. So all 4 cards are completed. Here's the first one, sending you a cup of love. And then the second one says, life happens, but coffee helps. Isn't that true? And look at the detail on that embossing folder. I love it. The third one with the takeout cup and the Frappuccino says, happiness is a cup of coffee with a good friend. And the final card says, with you, it was love at first sip. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.